I mean, to be putting out content at 93 years old, it's very Marino.
Hi, welcome to another chapter of The Geezer Show. Today I have a special guest. I've known her from the day she was born, and no more suspense. Here is talented and beautiful granddaughter, Justine Marino, live and direct from Los Angeles. Hi, Justine.
Hi, Pops. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, God, it's my pleasure. Now, I think what the audience would like to know is, when was the first time you wrote comedy or appeared in comedy, and at what age?
Okay, I love that question. When I came out to LA, I thought I was going to be doing dramatic acting, but at some point I went to Ivana Chubbuck Studio, which is a very well-known dramatic acting studio out here, and I just didn't feel like it was quite my speed. So I ended up taking classes at the Groundlings, which is down the street, which is an improv school and sketch company where a lot of people have come out of. Will Ferrell, pretty much, most people from SNL have gone through the Groundlings, just tons and tons. It's a comedy powerhouse. And so I started taking classes there, and then I started getting into some sketch groups. So that's when I started writing comedy. And then I was actually on the track I wanted to be in the Groundlings company, but it takes a long time to get through that program because they're pretty strict about who they let through, and they have a lot of people, so they have a long wait list to get to some of the higher levels in the program. So while I was waiting for like the third or fourth level, someone had suggested I do a stand-up class, and I was like, well, why not? Just to keep my chops up, to try something different. So I took this class with this guy. His name was Jerry Katzman, and it just felt like way more of a better fit. Like, I just felt so at home. It felt like what I was meant to do, which is kind of crazy because I had never even considered doing stand-up. I just wanted to try it to keep my comedy chops up, and because I didn't really have much else going on waiting for Groundlings. So I tried that, and then at the end of that class, which was I think 8 weeks, we had a showcase at the Haha Comedy Club out here in Los Angeles, in North Hollywood, and all my friends came, and I had a great set, which in retrospect was maybe because it was all my friends, but it was awesome. And then the next night, I was a tour guide at Universal at the time also, and the next night was the tour guide talent show. So I had 2 shows back to back, like the first week doing stand-up, and I won the talent show. I won a gift card to Nordstrom. That's how well it went. And of course I spent that very quickly, but I knew from there, like, I got to stick with this. And so from then I never went back to Groundlings. They kept calling me to be like, your spot's open, you can come back. And I was so busy with stand-up that I just went that route.
Talk about how you were discovered by Jon Lovitz.
Oh gosh, we're getting back into my early years. I think so fondly about all of that. I'm trying to think. So as I said, I was a tour guide at Universal Studios, and I was in my early 20s, and I was doing the tour thing, and Jon Lovitz opened a club on City Walk, which is the outdoor kind of shopping, movie theater, restaurants area at Universal. It's connected kind of to the theme park. Someone booked me on a show there. I had been doing stand-up at this point for maybe about a year, and the guy who was running the show, I believe it was an all-female show he was running, and it was called Dame Funny, and he just decided he didn't want to do it anymore. So he ended up giving it to me, and I changed it and started calling it Baked Goods, and I would bring cupcakes to every show. That's the other thing about me.
I remember that.
I was like, I'm going to be as good as I can be. I'm going to bring cupcakes. Who doesn't love those? I'll definitely get booked again. And it seemed to work. So I started doing the Baked Goods show. I took over for the other guy who left. And then I got really close with the manager at Jon Lovitz Club, who then told John that I should host his weekly Saturday night show. So that was how that all happened. The manager of the club was really, really good to me. He also gave me my first podcast, which was like in 2011, before podcasts were really even a big thing. And he introduced me to John, and John has been such a mentor ever since, which was so cool because I remember watching him in just movies and TV shows and SNL, of course. He was just such a legend of comedy, and to have someone like that and of that caliber mentoring me at such a young age and so early on, I was really, really, really lucky.
Didn't you do a pilot with somebody who's pretty famous?
I did. I got to work with Jamie Foxx. I got directed by Jamie Foxx, which was incredible. This was when I was about 26. I had been working on this big showcase out here called the CBS Diversity Showcase. I was a writer on that. And it's one of the bigger, new talent showcases here in LA. And I wrote a few sketches that were really good. And at the time, this comedian, his name was Affion Crockett. He had just gotten a sketch show that Jamie Foxx was involved in. He was executive producing and directing some of the episodes with Fox. So that had been picked up, and I went in the day after the CBS Diversity Showcase to audition for the role of Paula Abdul. And I went out and bought a wig, and I had my friend do makeup, and she put the mole on me, the Paula mole on me. We did it up, and I went in and I ended up booking it, which was kind of crazy. I don't think anyone expected me to book it, but I just went in and just went for it. And I had no idea Jamie Foxx was going to be directing it. So when I got there, I was just kind of like, oh, but it was really cool. And then at the end, he said I was funny, which was incredible. I mean, he's this Oscar winner. So it was really, really awesome. That sketch never made it to air. I think that show aired a few episodes and then either got pulled or I don't know that it kept getting pushed, and then I don't think the whole series aired, but it was a really great experience. And yeah, Jamie Foxx is awesome, and he's a really, really good director. So that was really cool.
Oh, great. Now, what's in the development now? What are you looking for? What are you writing about?
So now I'm obviously always working on stand-up and new material. And I also have a new podcast with my friend Justine Martindale that we're really excited about and has been getting some good feedback. And, we're getting some great listeners and new fans, and we have some really awesome guests coming up on that. And then I'm working on something. I can't say what it is, but I'm writing something that I'm really excited about, and I have a director attached, and it's just I'm really excited about where things are going. I can't say too much, but I obviously it's comedy because that's my love, and I think comedy growing up helped me so much because I was an only child. I was anxious, I was OCD, and watching sitcoms and funny movies really helped alleviate some of that anxiety. So I want to put that out into the world to maybe help people who are like me as well.
You gonna do any more of those crazy dancing?
Well, I'm always doing crazy dancing. I don't know if we're going to get a season 2 just because of COVID. Everything is a little bit up in the air, and no one really, knows what's going on. And so we're not quite sure. I would not be surprised if the Funny Dance Show did not come back to E, just because of all the stuff that's going on right now. It's really a show that you need a big audience for, and you need to be able to get rowdy and everything but I just have to, that show, getting a TV show, Funny Dance Show on E, that show was a silly little idea that I had that I put together with a few comedian friends, and then we put it up at the Comedy Store, and we thought we would maybe do it one time, and then it just kind of snowballed into this thing that became a television show, eight episodes of a TV series on a network that I've been watching since I can remember. So in and of itself, I'm just so grateful for how that went and excited for the future. If it came back, I would be so happy, but I'm so grateful for what we did with it as is.
Okay, during this COVID situation, But I see that there's a lot of shows now that have been shot in New Zealand.
Right.
And there are parts of New Zealand. There was a show about the early 30s in New York, and they had the streets looking just like New York did in those days. So I guess there's a lot of companies going out to New Zealand to produce live shows for television.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that makes sense. I think they have the cases pretty much under control. I was working on a show during COVID called The Soup, which is a
Oh, yeah, that was on E!
yeah, it was on E as well. So I was writing on that, and we had to shut down in March, obviously, when no one really knew what was going on, and it was really just in the early stages. But in June, we were able to come back and finish our run of season one. I think we did 13 episodes in the pandemic, which is so cool. But there was like, a week where someone tested positive and we had to shut down for 2 weeks. So it is very, I've had friends who have gone to set for a commercial or something, and they'll have to test them a bunch of times and do COVID testing. So I think we're getting a handle on it ish to be able to continue doing production out here. But of course, somewhere like New Zealand is probably more ideal where it's not so prevalent.
Yeah, and I remember you did some commercials. What was it for
Yes.
gas?
So the year I did the Jenny McCarthy thing, that was at the end of 2013, and then at the beginning of 2014, I booked a commercial. Everyone thinks it's a Walmart commercial because it was set in a Walmart, but it was actually a commercial for Straight Talk Wireless, which is a cell
Uh-huh.
phone company that was sold at Walmart. And that ran like crazy for like a year at least, maybe a little bit more. So I did that one. I did one when I was 22 for ConocoPhillips. That was fun. It wasn't a,
That's,
yeah, that was
I
another
remember
one.
that one.
Yeah, that one was cool. That was one of my first big jobs. I got into the Screen Actors Guild off of that job, which was really awesome. And then I did the Walmart Straight Talk one, and then last year I got to do one for Ford, which was really cool and is still running. It's not national, but I know it's running somewhere because the residuals are still coming in. So
Oh, that's
um,
good.
yeah, so someone's seeing it, but I love commercials because you work for a day and then if they run a lot, you can make a good amount of money on it. And the thing that was cool about the Ford commercial was that we shot it on the Universal Studios lot on Elm Street. And just having been a tour guide there and sitting on the tram and seeing actors working and being like, oh, when's that going to be me? And to be on the other side of that with my own trailer with my name on it. And the tour guides, I love them so much that whole department at Universal, they're like my family forever. They wrote on the board in the morning that they always write out what's filming on the lot, and they said Ford commercial starring former tour guide Justine Marino, which I thought was so sweet.
Well, listen, uh, you are going to have a great future. You're great now, but it's going to get better. Just let this virus step aside and we'll all be better off.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just obviously it changed things this year that we thought would go one way and it was uncontrollable, but I've just been trying to use it to my advantage and take the time to create stuff and make stuff and write and work on stuff that I've been wanting to do but hadn't had time to do just because I had been so busy with working, a day job on the Soup and having funny dance show to worry about every month. So being able to just take this time to work on other aspects of the business has been, I'm just trying to make the best of it.
Well, that's all we can do.
Right.
Well, sweetheart, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank
And
you, Pops.
I always wish you the best. And we'll be FaceTiming each other.
Yes, I know. I enjoy our FaceTimes and our chats while I'm on my walks. And I love you so much, Pops. And I was so touched that you asked me to be on here. I actually had to hang up because I was like crying because I just
Oh, that's
am so grateful that you're here and that you can do stuff like this. I just love you so much, Pops.
thank you, dear.
Love you.